Alright, everybody, I decided that I needed a little more time to talk. As you were going through your research project, you probably found that there were a couple of things that weren't covered in the other conversation. So check this out. I got myself in the tiny little corner so I can talk to you at the same time. I don't know if you can see this, but we're gonna try it. Anyway, so there were a couple things that were left out, so let's talk about those and see if we can get our slides going. Goodness. Anyway, one thing I will say about this is this assignment probably shouldn't be started on the Sunday that it's due, which is Halloween, first off, because that's probably poor choices. Second of all, you have 2 weeks to do this. It's the longest unit that we have because I do expect you to go out and not make up facts, but actually research things, check out competitors, like get some real information. And so, that's going to take time. It's going to be a process, and I'm going to check with you as you go and make sure that everybody is not having any trouble. But really, I'm not going to be super sympathetic for someone that tries to pick it up next week or the weekend after next and really can't put something together that's useful. So let's talk a little bit about a few things that were in another deck of slides. I didn't want to go the whole deck, but I wanted to pull a couple things out so that they could be helpful. So first off, product service description. So we're going to talk about, you're going to tell me about your product and service. Like at some point in your research paper, you need to tell me what it is. And something that I think is so interesting that I guess I thought about, but not in these in such specific terms, but when you talk about a feature of your product, right? So it's blue or it's colorful or it's really strong or, it has 3 wheels instead of 2, right? That's all well and good. Like maybe I'll really like that or I'll think that that's a cool feature. But if you talk about your product or service in terms of its benefits, what the customer gains from the product or service feature, that is where you're going to really hit a home run. That's where you're going to sell the customer. And so if you're talking about the benefit. I mentioned that my new suitcase is colorful. Well, it comes in 6 colors, which our teens and preteens are going to love. It's really strong, but the strength of your suitcase helps you out at the airport when you're waiting and you need somewhere to sit. It's strong enough that you can sit on it as a stool while you're at the airport. Okay, now I'm understanding, what some of these features really mean to me when I'm out there using the product. And now I'm even more interested in it, right? So make sure when you're doing your product or service description, maybe, write down all your features and then go so far as to discuss it in terms of benefits. Even better. Something to get in the habit of, right? Competitor analysis. So this is where we're starting to look at who we're going to compete with. So when I look through some of your list of ideas, the idea was that goodness, my slides are a mess. The idea was that you did put down a whole bunch of things, but some of the things that I saw on the list are even things that you came up with as opportunities, which is totally fine. You weren't at the point where you were researching, but some of those things when you research, you'll find out there's already things out there that do it, right? There's some competitors, which can be totally fine, but you're wanting to know who they are. You're wanting to understand their strengths and weaknesses. What are their strategies? How successful are they? So, like I mentioned earlier, Dating Ring, they got to a point a year in where they're like, I wonder if there's a reason why there isn't a thing like this out there. Maybe because it can't be successful. So what's going to be your competitive advantage? What's different about you? What's going to make people interested in the service or product that you're providing? So think about those things. Seriously, I don't even know. I'm going to get a drink of my soda. I think competitor analysis is fun. I think it can give you some really interesting ideas. I will tell you, the gal that owns Paint the Town, Jessie, she this always sticks with me because I thought it was such a great idea. Part of her competitor analysis was reading the negative feedback on her competitors, because those were things that people were looking for that they didn't find at that place. And so are those things that you can do. That makes sense. I mean, they're going to be the weirdos that that want weird things, but maybe there are things in those competitors' negative comments that you can really solve with your idea, and that can be the way that you're standing out. And so something to think about when you're doing your competitor analysis. These are all in random order, apparently. I thought I put them in better order than that. Somebody asked me, are we going to learn how to write a business plan? And you're not going to learn we're not going to write a business plan. That's something that you do when you're, all the way through the process, and you're looking for funding, starting at financing, really putting some things together. However, all of the pieces that we are going to work through, especially in this research part where we're starting to talk about competitors, we're looking at financials a little bit, things like that. These are all pieces of a business plan. So if you were to want to write a business plan once you get done with this class, shouldn't be any problem. You should have thought through almost everything that would go into a business plan, minus, maybe doing the executive summary and things like that. That should be fairly easy if you've gotten down and really worked through all these things. So not going to write a business plan. I don't think it's necessary also for people that aren't wanting to get into business. They can learn things from all these pieces and not have to put together that document. You might find yourself in a business situation where you don't need to get outside funding or things like that. And so going through these pieces is plenty to get your strategy and pieces together to get started. And you maybe don't need a more structured, more formal document. So, but there are reasons that you would need to, lenders, investors, and there are reasons that you go through this process, whether you write that actual business plan or not, to guide your company, chart your course, define what you're doing. Super critical. People that just open their doors and then are like, what do I do now? They're going to have a hard go of it. So, a plan must pass these 3 tests. I wanted to put this in here. I'm so sorry. My computer is probably bought one laptop, and I don't even know if you can call it a laptop. It's shaped like a laptop, but it has to be plugged in all the time, and the battery falls out, and also the screen's cracked. And you might be thinking I'm talking about my cell phone because it's so ridiculous, but it is my laptop, and it clearly doesn't work very good. And it's getting kind of annoying. Anyway, I think I've only bought one laptop since I opened the spa 13 years ago. So it's probably time for a new one. Okay, here we go. So the plan must pass 3 tests. The reality test. You need to prove that a market does exist for your product or service. So that's something that you probably want to talk about when you are putting together your research project, right? Or maybe not specifically, but it's something you should think about. Can you actually build it, provide it for cost estimates in the plan? So, right, I talked about my example of the knitted bath poof. Doesn't work. Can't provide it for a correct cost that market wants it. Is it something people want? You want to explain that and to make sure I understand and appreciate that as well. Competitive test. How are you going to relate yourself in comparison to your competitors? How am I going to fit into this landscape? A lot of people don't understand that. Why would you get into a nail salon business, right? Or a day spa? So stupid. There's one on every corner. Well, as I mentioned before, there can still be an opening in the market. And so talking about where you're going to fall in relation to your competitors, and we'll do that through your competitor matrix that we'll do later. Management's ability to create a company that will gain an edge over its rivals. So talk about what that is. Value test, venture, and you don't have to do this, but this is something else, especially if you're going to use your business plan to get funding. If you're listening to some of those startup podcasts about Gimlet, the original season, or about Dating Ring, you'll see where the investors are looking for a high rate of return. They're going to look at the probability of repayment if you're looking for some kind of debt financing. So you'll need to be able to show that there's a value in that. And here we are on our next slide, revisiting the competitive advantage piece. Again, what makes you different, what sets you apart, how are you going to how are you going to do things differently? So, how do I define that, right? I always see people are like, customer service, I'm going to be so great at customer service. Or the worst one, mark this down in your notes with a big star right now. I'm going to sell, the highest quality products at the just absolute most inexpensive price. You better go back to the drawing board, because I don't know how you can do that. You cannot do it. I mean, let's just get down to it. Places aren't greedy. If I'm going to the Flying Stove and it costs me $12 to get a thing of fried rice, it's because they're low volume. They have to drive there. There's 2 guys in there. It's time intensive. They use high quality ingredients. Okay, it shouldn't be $2 like it is over at the Egg Roll Shack. And that is not to say that either one of them are wrong or not appealing to a certain part of the market, or maybe appealing. They both appeal to me, right? Sometimes I want to eat the Flying Stove, and sometimes I go over to the Egg Roll Shack, or whatever it's called. That's probably not what it's called. Anyway, and I get my fried rice, and that's cool, and there are different things about it. And so, but, just assuming that companies charge a ton just to be greedy, I'm willing to bet, 99.9% of the time that is not the case. The cost is higher. And so don't star on your notes. Do not tell me your competitive advantage is you're going to sell really high quality products for really, really inexpensive prices, unless you absolutely can tell me and give me the 1-800 number to call to talk to someone that can provide those high quality products for that ridiculous price. Okay? Anyway, so 5 aspects of a small company, things that you might find or where your competitive advantage is, right? The products you sell, the services you provide, the pricing you offer. It's okay for, one of these, but you can't be like best customer service, best high quality products. I'm going to get the best prices. The way you sell, how are you going to sell it, right? I'm selling food out of my food truck. I'm catering. I have a restaurant. I have pop-up dinners. How are you doing that? I'm fast casual. So it could be the way you're selling your products. And then the values to which you're committed. This is something that can be significant in the consumer arena that maybe wasn't as significant before, right? They want to be associated. They want to be buying socks from Bombas. They want to be, buying shoes from Bob's. They want to be working with companies that care about their community, that care about the environment, that, really have an upstanding track record for certain values. And so, and those all sound great, but also, maybe I want to go to shop at a certain tattoo parlor because they, ride Harleys. I don't know. It can also be, the brand that you put out there as well, and how people connect with that. Key success factors. This is something that's in the business model template, which we're not doing specifically, but it's something I think, again, to think about. These are things that might be specifically included in the research project, or they might be things that will help you fill in some of those pieces of the research project and aren't specifically asked for. We did it without it sleeping for an hour. Okay, key success factors. This is factors that are determine the success of the market participants. So this is the things that you're going to need to make this work, right? I just said my competitive advantage is the way we sell, right? So I'm going to need, these 5 things. I'm going to need to have really knowledgeable salespeople. So I have to have a training program. I'm going to have, this and this. So this is where you kind of lay out some of those things that are important, specific skills, characteristics, or core competencies that you have to make it successful in this market segment. So this is, they talk about this. How does your company, what are the things you're going to need, and how does your company rate, right? It's really important, in my business, that I have reliable service providers that are friendly, that are well-skilled, but which of those are really important? I think, crazy enough, I think being super friendly and and enjoyable to spend your hour with is probably more important than highly skilled. I think you have to be well skilled, but you don't need to be like the best in your field if you're really super nice and enjoyable to be with, because that's important. The experience is important. Cleanliness is really important. So figuring out like those key success factors, the things that you'll need to get to that, whatever it is that you're going to say makes you better and different. So here we talk about Porter's 3 strategies, right? Cost leadership, differentiation, and focus. I will tell you, almost every small business is not like in cost leadership. It's very difficult. It requires economies of scale. It requires, specialized purchasing, things like that. So being in that cost leadership category, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it isn't generally where a small business lies, right? Their ability to focus and differentiate because of their smallness, their agility, their willingness to pivot and reimagine themselves and really focus on what a customer wants, usually puts them into that differentiation and focus area. So looking at this little chart here, the low cost position falls in that competitive advantage is low cost position as part of the industry. Let's flip ahead and we'll look at these a little bit different way. You are reaching buyers who just look at things based on price. Your power is to set the industry's price floor, right? You're thinking of Dollar Tree and Dollar General and places where they're able to just buy in such bulk from specific suppliers that they can do that. Maybe you're thinking of like TJ Maxx or Marshalls or some of those places that buy the factory seconds. There's a place on Facebook, it's called like Wichita. Gosh, I can't think of it right now. We've been there a couple times and they buy at outlet prices and sell stuff. So they're a small business, so maybe you do find ability to do that, but generally that's not where you're going to lie. Their buyers are really sensitive to price change, which makes it tricky. Competing firms sell the same commodity products. There are lots of other places that are selling this, same stand. So you have to make sure that you can continue to be the low price leader. Economies of scale, like I mentioned, is usually involved. The ability to buy in a certain bulk. So differentiation is where we're generally going to fall. Build customer loyalty because we have something special that the customer values, that they're willing to, maybe they don't feel like they can get other places, they're willing to pay a little bit more for. What is it? Something uniquely good that you do in comparison to your competitors. Focus is where you get really narrow, right? So you look at the differences among segments, and maybe it's just one or two of the customer segments that you see special need, a want, and interest. We talked about selling just used sports uniforms, right? That's a really narrow segment. I could sell all used children's clothes. I can sell all used clothes in general. I could sell all used, anything, right? More like a DAV, or I could sell just vintage things, like Dead Center or whatever has just vintage things. Maybe I could sell just one era of things. There used to be a place in Winfield that just sold more of the 60s and 70s type things. So I can get real focused inside of an industry or a market. I can select customer segments. One of the examples we had in one of the books was a company that just sold feathers. And you think, well, that's really specific, just feathers. But not only do they just sell feathers, they just sold very large feathers to performers. So super specific focus, but they found a niche. They found it a special need or a want or interest in a market that was underserved, and they were able to do it. And so, you might find that that's really something that you could do that your competitors aren't doing. A lot of times you look at, and I think that's why differentiation or focus falls out to the smaller businesses, right? If Walmart is able, or Dollar Tree or Dollar General is able to provide those lower cost products, they probably can't, afford some of the amenities of like excellent customer service, very knowledgeable service providers. Maybe the extra service of delivery and setup and all those things don't make sense at a Walmart. And so that's why it creates the ability for maybe a smaller player to provide that more extensive customer service, differentiate themselves through that, knowledge and service, and maybe a higher end product, things like that. So we're going back to analyzing the competition now, right? It's really important, especially owners that are in highly competitive industries, to keep looking at this. Like 97% of businesses do not track the progress of their competitors, especially their key competitors. It's important to do that. It keeps you moving in the right direction and not getting caught blindsided by what your competitors are doing. My competitor just in this last month purchased another competitor, and so they consolidated into one company, and that could closer to where I'm located, and that could affect us. But I'm tuned into my competitors, I'm keeping track of it. I'm actually friends with her, so she gave me a heads up, which was cool. And so getting tuned into your industry and knowing what's going on, so if there's something you need to react to or change. This is like a lot of things I mentioned there. Identify potential new competitors, improve your reaction time, anticipate your rival's next strategic move. Knowing there's not just direct competitors, right? Everybody else out there that provides spa services, my direct competitors. There can be significant competitors where I would say significant competitors are just nail salons, right? But I do the full day spa. So I have massage, facials, and nails and waxing. So my direct competitors are other day spas. My significant competitors are places that just provide maybe one of those services, right? And then there's indirect competitors, in my case, anywhere else that people might do something nice for themselves. So maybe it's just going to the movies, or it's going over to Ulta or Sephora and buying some beauty products and DIYing it at home. It's going out to dinner. It's going to Chicken and Pickle. A lot of my business is groups, and so they might go to Paint the Town. They might go to down to Old Town. They might go to Pinspiration or whatever. So those are more my indirect competitors. So you want to look at your competitor analysis, and you'll want to discuss that with me. Where do you get this information, right? Now I need to know like every single thing they're thinking over there. A lot of it has to do with industry, trade shows, conferences, studying competitors' literature. I got a few brochures from some of my competitors here in town, looked at prices, looked at what they're offering, looked at hours, things like that, see where we're at. Competitors' employment ads can be super helpful. Maybe just talking to other people that deal with people in your industry, whether it's sales reps or purchasing agents, customers, industry and trade publications. Got that on there twice. Patents, EPA reports, depending on what you're doing. Maybe I'm able to obviously follow them on social media. That's a great place to find out what they have going on. Buying their products, benchmarking them, right? I go and where Zeep, I think I went, and bought some of their products. They're amazing. I wish that they would just sell them here instead of having their own shop, but maybe someday. Anyways, so benchmarking competitors' products, services, see what you think. We went over to Classy Nails and thought, hey, I'm going to see why people like this so much on social media because I'm following them there. And, got a feel for what makes them interesting and set apart. Maybe a credit report. Maybe you can investigate UCC reports. If they are a franchise, a lot of times you can get a lot of their information online. Obviously get on the internet or just visit them. So this is where it gets you to the competitive profile matrix. So you'll want to kind of look like, you come up with your key success factors, which we talked about earlier. So, what is it? It's your location, it's your, whatever those are, it's my Quality probably is one of mine. My experienced staff, things like that. Put those in. What's most important? What's your rating? And then look at your two closest competitors and see what you think about theirs, and then kind of see where you stand. So that competitive profile matrix is one of the things that will be part of your research project. As you get moving through this and start putting things down, let me know if you have any questions. I look forward to hearing more from you. I will probably post up either a video or just a post with post comments about the love psych video as well. So I'll talk to you guys again soon.